Hello, this is Mark Satterfield, and welcome to the Velvet Rope Playbook. Tonight's chapter: Why You Don't Have to Be Rich to Sell to the Wealthy. One of the questions I hear surprisingly often is this: Mark, how can I possibly attract wealthy clients when I'm not wealthy myself? Maybe you've looked at someone driving a Ferrari, living in a beautiful waterfront home, taking luxury vacations, and quietly thought, why would they ever hire someone like me? Now, if you've ever had that thought, I want to give you a different way to look at it because I think this belief keeps more talented professionals stuck than almost anything else. And here's why I say that. Let's imagine your surgeon needs heart surgery. Do you think he insists on finding a surgeon who has a bigger house than he does? Probably not. If you're a successful business owner looking for a tax strategist, do you ask how expensive your accountant's watch is before hiring them? Of course not. The wealthy don't hire professionals because those professionals are wealthier than they are. They hire people who solve expensive problems, and those are two very different things. In fact, many world-class specialists earn extraordinary incomes because they solve problems for people who have even more money than they do. The relationship isn't based on matching lifestyles. It's based on expertise. But here's where people get into trouble. They start comparing lifestyles instead of capabilities. I don't belong in that country club. I've never stayed at that resort. I don't own that kind of car. And every one of those thoughts quietly chips away at confidence. The irony? Your prospect usually isn't thinking about any of that. They're wondering something far simpler. Can this person help me? That's the only question that really matters. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't understand affluent clients. You absolutely should. You should understand how they make decisions, what they value, why convenience often matters more than saving a few dollars, why certainty is worth paying for, why they often buy trust before they buy expertise. But notice something. None of that requires you to become wealthy first. It requires curiosity. It requires observation. It requires studying a market. Just like a pediatrician doesn't have to be 5 years old to understand children, or a veterinarian doesn't have to be a horse to treat one. You study the people you serve. Now, here's a simple exercise that I recommend. Take out a sheet of paper. Now draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write things I assume wealthy people care about. On the right-hand side, write evidence I've actually seen. Then start filling it in. Maybe you assume they always choose the cheapest option. Now, is that actually true? Or have you seen them gladly pay more for speed or privacy, better service, or greater confidence? Maybe you assume they only hire people who look richer than they do. Can you actually point to evidence of that? Most people can't. What you'll discover is that many of your beliefs aren't facts. They're stories. Stories you've repeated so many times they've started feeling true. And those stories show up in your marketing. They show up in your pricing. They show up in sales conversations. They even show up in your body language. Confidence isn't pretending to be something you're not. Confidence comes from knowing you create value. When you genuinely believe you solve an important problem, what happens then is you stop trying to impress people. You simply help them make a good decision. That's the mindset affluent clients respond to. Not arrogance, not status, quiet competence. So if you've struggled with feeling intimidated around affluent prospects, or you've found yourself discounting your fees, or hesitating to market yourself because you don't feel like you belong, well, you're not alone. The good news is that confidence is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. So if you'd like some help with that, comment confidence. I'll send you information about my confidence program where I show professionals just like you how to overcome these psychological barriers, communicate with greater authority, and become the kind of trusted advisor affluent clients naturally feel comfortable hiring. Because the goal isn't to become wealthier than your clients. The goal is to become more valuable to them. This is Mark Satterfield. I hope you have enjoyed this chapter of the Velvet Rope Playbook. I'll be back at you soon with another chapter, but until then, bye for now.